It doesn't happen very often that I am lucky enough to get a game like this before it's even produced. And yet, I've had Terrorscape for a while, I've already done the unboxing, I've already done how to set up. I think now is about the time that I tell you whether I think this game is going to be worth the amount of money that you have to back to get your hands on it. So play we all. I first saw Terrorscape in Essen in 2022, just a glance, and I got to talk to the people at Ice Make Games to actually see what else they were doing, and they have some really cool games, and Terrorscape was one they were promoting at the time. Now I got the prototype, which is what you can see here, and it does look absolutely unbelievable. Is ginormous, is beautiful, and even if it is just a pre-production copy, it's already very well known. But let me tell you what this is all about. Terrorscape is a one versus all hide and seek asynchronous game. In this game, let me show you from the top. In this game, behind one of the sides of the screen, which is this massive building, are going to be 3 survivors, and on this side is going to be the kind of the murderer who wants to get rid of them and, yeah, well, basically murder them. However, they are not going to know where each other is. So the survivors know that there is somebody who wants to hunt them, and the butcher, you know, the murderer knows that there are 3 people in the house. Yes, even though this is a 2 to 4 players, there's always going to be 3 survivors, and there's always going to be 1 murderer. Once that happens, the murderer is going to move around the rooms, asking if there is anybody there, and the survivors are going to be moving around the rooms, trying to get a means to escape. The survivors win if they can get out by finding 5 keys, looking and searching around the house, or by repairing a radio and then waiting 5 turns for a helicopter to arrive and take them to safety. If the murderer manages to murder one of the players, that's it. Game over, and the murderer wins. That's the end of it. The house has more than enough rooms to make this game interesting, and yes, the map is identical, but obviously is mirrored depending on the side that you're looking at. As I said earlier, the game is asynchronous. That means that the players are going to do one thing, and the butcher, you know, I keep saying the butcher is the murderer, is going to do something else. They don't have to be doing the same thing at the same time. Every round, they're going to be able to move to one room, or they're going to be able to search. And the murderer is going to be able to move to one room, but, and this is where things become very interesting, because the murderer also has a deck of cards. Now, these cards has actions that the murderer can undertake, and those actions can be either taken immediately if they have a little flashy icon that allow them to move and do things right away, or do them at the end of the round as a kind of their action sort of thing. Like, for instance, they can sense if there are any survivors nearby in the rooms surrounding it, so suddenly it becomes a lot more dangerous, because if the murderer senses that there is a survivor anywhere, then they can go in that direction, and if confronting the survivors, then the fight ensues. If a murderer wounds a survivor twice, that's it. The survivor dies. So facing the murderer is risky, but it is not impossible to survive. Why do I say that? The 5 survivors, even though you only play with 3, so 2 are going to stay in the box, you choose 3 to play with, and each one is going to have a different ability. Like, for example, Marco Carven here says that they can gain an adrenaline or a tranquilizer from the discard pile, and starts with a medikit, so they have an equipment to start with. Sophia Scott is ingenious and start with Sophia's camera, which is good because it allows you to take photographs. And travel through a secret passage. This becomes an extra action if you're holding a flashlight. Extra actions means that you can take them without impeding the action that you can take in your normal round. So basically it means that you can do 2 things instead of 1. And you can get items that will allow you to do that throughout the game. However, they can become scared. For instance, say that you are in a room, you are a survivor, you are in the room, and the butcher goes in and does that. You become scared and you get a fear token. If you get 2 fear tokens, you make a noise. If you make a noise, the murderer can go in your direction because they will find out where you are. You don't want to do that. Throughout the game, however, you can calm yourself down, either with tranquilizers or, just breathing exercises and meditation, instances, whatever it is, and you can reduce the number of fear tokens that you have accumulated, thus making it safer to continue, at least for a while. In order to find the exit to the place, you need to find 5 keys. If you want to get the helicopter, then you need to repair the radio, and every time that you repair the radio, you make a noise because, instruments and tools make noises. And then you have to survive an extra 5 rounds to wait for the helicopter. It is not as easy as it sounds. Now, what happens if you have to fend, you have to face the murderer? Well, you're going to roll a number of dice. The game, amazingly enough, comes with a dice tower on this side and 4 dice. 4 dice, you're going to roll minus the number of fear tokens in your character survivor. So if you have 1 fear, you roll 3 dice. There you go. And depending on what you get in your dice rolls, you will survive, you will resist or survive or not. That's because each murderer has a level of difficulty. For instance, the murderer has 4, the expector is a 3, and the butcher is a 5. Not easy. Yes, there are tools out there like weapons that can give you a plus to your result, your die roll. Production is amazing and is not over yet because this game is going on to Kickstarter. And funnily enough, if you go onto their Instagram account, which is where they're being very proactive, Ice Makes Games is listening very carefully to what reviewers are saying about the game. So I mentioned that the rules need a little bit of proofreading because they're very, very hard to understand. Those rules are being rewritten as I record this video. It was a little bit hard to understand and see some of the tokens that comes with the game. It was a bit, what is the point of that? They're changing that to make it more accessible. Some of the colors are also being made more accessible, and I don't even want to imagine how many stretch goals they have already planned for this, because quite frankly, they have 3 murderers here, 3 antagonists, and 5 characters. I don't see any reason why this couldn't be a lot more and even more interesting. As the game stands, the production truly is amazing. Yes, it could be said that having to set up such complex game for a game that's meant to last about 45 minutes. It lasts a little bit longer. Okay, it's a little bit more than that, but it could be said it's a bit, yeah, is it going to be worth it? Well, yes, quite frankly, yes it is. The third time I set up this, it took me 15 minutes. Done. Why? Because as you can see here in the top, they come, they have provided with these absolutely fantastic trays where you don't have to put everything around the table anymore. The survivors have all they need, and the assassin have everything they need. That's it. So this goes straight into the box. No setting up, just this beautiful screen, and that's 15 minutes. So as far as I'm concerned, that's just very, very well thought out. The production of the minis is outstanding. So you can see that the minis are just gorgeous, truly, truly gorgeous. I can expect this breaking a fair number of stretch goals and getting even more minis, which would be wonderful to see. As a hide and seek game, this works very, very well indeed. We have a blast playing it. Even at this stage, is extremely playable. Yeah, it took us a while to get to grips with the rules, but that's the least bit worrying to me, because they're being rewritten, and by the time it comes out, they're going to go through proofreading and editing and absolutely everything that they need to go through, which is great. We loved it. It's spectacular, it's quick, it's very tense, it's very fun to play, and it's very much a Friday the 13th sort of vibe to it, which I love. So, do I think that this is worth the amount of money that you're going to have to back to get your hands on it? Absolutely yes. And I'm telling you one other reason why, because regardless of what kind of killers or what kind of new characters they come out with, I cannot see any reason. And in fact, I think it will be very, very easy to create your own murderers, or to create your own, investigators to play this game. And yes, that's exactly what I'm implying. Why not taking minis, characters from a different game with different abilities, with different equipment, and adapting it to this game with a little bit of work? You could do that. And I reckon that this, with a Cthulhu theme, it would be just unbeatable. Unbeatable. So keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the Kickstarter, because you're going to want to get this game back on your table time and time and time again. I love it. Really, truly love it. So play wheel.